Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. So today we're going to be talking about the difference in high vibe versus low vibe and how we can rock our high vibes so we can go to the place of high vibe and live there. Just a recap of, these past couple of shows for all of you, anybody who's saying, oh, come on, what's this? what is this crazy thing you're talking about with this high vibe, woo-woo, weirdo stuff? It's not. It is actually how this works. This is how this whole thing works. We have vibration. Everything has vibration. This glass has vibration. My pen has vibration. Fingernails have vibration. My book, a book has vibration. Everything's got vibration. Everything. It can be measured. And that vibration, the higher the vibration, the more complex it is, the more intelligent it is, the more multi-layered it is. To the lowest of low vibrations, it's very, very interesting what that equates to. I showed you this, David Hawkins did a whole piece, and he's a psychiatrist, scientist. They call him a spiritualist. I don't know what a spiritualist is, to be honest, but what he's done is he's just looked at the whole picture of what it's all about. The science, God, what vibrational energy is and what this whole thing is. He's connected it all and actually measured it. And he's shown that the higher the vibe, the more incredible peace and joy and love, reason, understanding, reverence, serenity, bliss, meaningful, all up at the very top. And guess what's at the bottom? Cravings, anxiety, regret, despair, hopelessness, frightening, shame. Interesting, isn't it? These things actually vibrate lower. And that's why I'm mentioning all of this, because I want to show you the complete mix, if you will, the gobbledygook of how amazing. And I just always come back to this place of saying, God did this on purpose to show us what is what, to show us that all of these things matter, to show us this works better than this, to give us the contrast. Nobody wants to be why would you want to be at a 30 where shame lives versus being at a 600 where peace lives? Where would we want to live? We want to live in the high vibe place, right? Pinky's up for high vibes, man. That's the place to be. So we ask then, when I think about this, I'm thinking, I'm sorry, these bra straps are making me nuts. I wish I'd done something different, but I didn't. But I've always asked the question, like when we talk about being thirsty with Thirsty Thursday, it's like, what are you really thirsty for? What's going to quench that thirst inside of you? What's going to give you what it is that you need? Now, there is an actual thirst mechanism too that a lot of us have that are broken that we got to fix. But there's a deep inner thirst. There's a deep hunger. There's a deep desire for something else. And what a lot of us have found, and tell me if you can relate to this, is we've used food as that substitute for not just thirst, because we found that's a biggie. That was like a big, oh, really? I could be really thirsty, and instead I'm eating? Really? When I first found out about that maybe 20 years ago, it's true. But what we also know is that our thirst is for deeper things, for a deeper meaning for our life, to go from the fear over to here. And that's what Full Bloom is about, by the way, so we can intentionally find what it is that our purpose is. So we can be those women living those lives. Not for everybody else. It is for everybody. It is offered up on a serving plate for everyone, but we have to be earnestly seeking it. And I believe that we earnestly all need to understand the difference between high and low vibe so that we can be on that high vibe and on that high road that leads to vibrancy and leads to us finding all these different things. They're little nuggets along the way. You've been on a hike before, right? I live in the land of waterfalls, y'all. That's what Brevard is about. It's called the land of waterfalls. Transylvania County, there's so many waterfalls, probably more than any other place. They're here, and right where I live, in Conisty Falls, where I live, there's like 8 trails filled with waterfalls, and none of which we have been on yet, by the way. But we're going to. We just spend so much time on the lake. But waterfalls, you see things along the way. And when you go on a hike, what do you see? Well, you see something, maybe some interesting wildlife, and God forbid, maybe a bear sighting, but not a bear encounter, right? You see something neat. You see beautiful streams. You see beautiful flora and fauna. You see all this gorgeous stuff, don't you? Tons. Beauty, 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 beauty everywhere. And that to me is our high vibe living along the way, building that path to vibrancy, building the bridge from here to there, because that's what it's all about. And when we mistakenly stuff ourselves instead with food, and we use food as our thing, we find that it doesn't work, and it really backfires in a big way. And that's because that hunger is unfilled desire for what it is that we truly want. We want to connect with the one that is deep within. He is, God within us. I was a part of the Episcopal Church, and that was part of the liturgy, God within us. And I always, contemplated that. What does that mean exactly? Well, you can feel that stirring inside of your heart. It's that connection that we all have, and it's planted there just as sure as our fingerprints and our belly buttons and everything else that we have that are uniquely ours inside of us. And that's that heart God connection that we all have. And it's the Holy Spirit stirring within us all the things. But so when we default to food to try to fix the things, the desires in our heart and the desires for God and a connection and all of that, then we find ourselves in this place of then fixing the mess that we made from all that food stuff, and being in a place of, now we got health issues, and now we got this, and now we got that. It's a whole lot of stuff that we have to untangle. And we all have that in our heads, don't we? We have this tangle of different thoughts and different directions and this, that, and the other thing all over the place. But the point is that food is only information. That is all that it is. And we put a lot on it. And I've told the M&M story, and probably you're going to hear it again right now. Oh my gosh. Yes, you are. Hi, Trisha. I'm glad you're here. Here's the thing that you need to know. That when we give food too much credence and expect it to fill in the gaps of our lives, we find ourselves in a place where we become even more gappy, if you will. The gap gets bigger. The hollowness inside gets hollower, and the great wanting gets even stronger because we can't fill it with food. Food is information. It can do 2 things. It can either give your body the nutrition that it needs or give your body inflammation that it doesn't need. That's all it does. That's all food can do. It doesn't have a mind. It's never going to hold you. It's never going to hug you. It's never going to hold your hand and say, you're okay just the way you are. It's never going to say you're enough. No. As a matter of fact, it's been chemically manipulated so you want more and more. No one can eat just more. That was on purpose. And if you saw our food addiction webinar, there's a whole industry dedicated to hook you on food. It should be illegal. It's like heroin, Lucy says, food was my friend for decades. That is now over. I love that. Lily said she loves my M&M story. Well, my M&M story was, for those of you who don't know it, who are new, my M&M story was an aha moment that I had when I was driving home again, with a great big bag of M&Ms, stuffing them full in my mouth and chewing them up, and to the point where my tongue got numb and the top of my mouth was actually getting cut with those little candy shards that M&Ms make. And I remember tears streaming down my face because I had a lot going on at the time. And it dawned on me just before I was about to stuff them into my purse and hide them, of course, because that's what food addicts do. They hide their junk, their junkies, right? They hide their drug of choice. Just before I was about to, it dawned on me that I was giving all of my power away to a bag of M&Ms. I was allowing that to take away the vitality and the vibrancy that I wanted in my life. I was allowing that to run the show. I was allowing that to be the only thing that I could think of when I was leaving the driveway to go to the grocery store, that I'm going to get my fix. I might as well have been a heroin addict, on my way home with my little dime bag or whatever, the black balloons or whatever those things are. It was really sad. It was really sad. But I had that aha moment. Aha, like, okay, that's it. That's it. Jeanette says peanut M&Ms. She said my weakness, cake and ice cream. We all have weaknesses. It doesn't mean we have to allow the weakness to have strength in our lives. Weakness doesn't equate strength in your life, having the strength in your life, unless you give it to that. There's a big difference there. That was my aha moment. And this is the thing that we all need to say. We have to understand that food is not love. Food is not friendship. It's not caring. It's not intimacy. It's not being known. It isn't any of these things. It is just food. And that is pretty low vibe. When we take and give away our power, our love, all the things that we want to a piece of food, do you see how low vibe that is? I don't even think we realize it. And I think that's why it breaks us down so hard when we do. We treat it as something that it's not, and we give it undeserving power, and we hand the reins of our lives over to food. We abdicate the authority that we have, the sovereignty that we have over our own bodies, to something else. Drug addicts do this all the time. Booze addicts do it all the time. Sex addicts, they do all of these things. But that doesn't mean that we have to do that anymore. When we understand and when we know better, we can do better. We can. We simply have to make that choice. But that switch has got to go off first. We have to understand that. So, and I wrote this down because this is especially something that I felt at the time when I was writing about this. And I tear up when I was thinking about this and writing about it today. And it's especially low vibe when you feel it with such deep shame. And I don't know about you, but food addiction comes with a deep and heavy shame. It does. And especially the kind of food that you're eating is all low vibe food. Have you noticed that? You check all those boxes. We give ourselves away to something that's never going to give us anything back, except maybe a stomachache and more addiction. So what is then? What's high vibe living look like? What is high vibe living? What are the benchmarks of high vibe living? Living. It's hard to say that. And I wrote these things down. I got 7 things out of this. I was thinking about what is the difference. Number 1 is real, true friendship. I think about in my life, looking over the context of what real, true friendships are. And I told you a while ago that I think that sometimes friendships do have an expiration date. I had a girlfriend, and I still love her to death. And we were friends in California. She came out here, and our kids grew up together. And we were this tight of. I never, in a million years, thought it would be anything except the highest value friendship forever. And it's just not anymore. And we still text each other and wish each other well, but we haven't stood the test of time, which doesn't mean that the friendship isn't there. And I mistakenly, somebody said, you called it a lost friendship. It isn't a lost friendship. It's a changed friendship. She's not going to be calling me and saying, well, what do you think about this? But then I tell you about my friendship with Marla, who over 20 years now. And we have ebbed and flowed. We have changed our friendships a lot. But you know what? You know what the continuum of that is? A deep and abiding love for each other. Always. We don't see eye to eye on a lot of stuff. Like politically, we're polar opposites and all of that. We joke about it, fortunately. We see different things differently. But we also see a lot of the things the same. And we love the same. Full on with our hearts. And there's so many things I can't even, I don't have a whole show to tell you about the things that I admire and respect about Marla, or do I have all the time to tell you about all the brilliant things that she said, well, Leanne, why don't you do this? She comes up with these things. I'm just like, why didn't I think of that? She's that woman. And that to me, that's high vibe, is having a friendship like that, loving like that. Low vibe is? It's grudges. It's a friendship that gets broken from things like that. It's from stuff that happens. When you have a friendship for 20 years, do you think you're going to have a disagreement? Of course you are. Does that mean you walk away from friendship? No, you do not. Does that mean you say, oh, I just, whatever? No. But things can change, like it did with my friend from California. Things can change and shift. But friendships, real true relationships, those are deep. You can't pull the roots out of those things. You can't. And I think about what's low vibe is just having a whole bunch of acquaintances and just being a social butterfly. You don't have a connection. It's lower vibe. And it keeps you from having to invest emotionally. It keeps you from not having the roots. There's a root system, I believe, in friendships. That's how I see it. Number 2 in this high vibe, when we're high vibe, we find love. We find love. What does that look like? Well, I've got Mark. You've got somebody maybe in your life, or maybe you have a cat. And I'm not saying that in a way like, well, maybe it's a cat. That's true. When we have pets and we love them and we dearly care about them, that is a relationship. That is giving and pouring out your love. And when we give out and we pour out our love and we give it back and forth, even with an animal. I mean, I was looking at my Lincoln dog today. How did I ever live without that little doggy? And he got me up at 6 o'clock in the morning, of course. And, I'm stumbling out and everything. I'm kind of tired. I would have liked maybe another half hour. But there I am, this joyful dog. That is a relationship. And it's not low vibe at all. It's super high vibe. And that doesn't mean, so that's my whole point, is that we have these whole things. That's low vibe. Isolating and being by yourself and bitter, low vibe. But we all can have something that we love. And even if we are living by ourselves, grandchildren or whatever, giving out to our community, there's always a way to connect and love deeply. Always. Number 3 is being important to others. We all have the ability to do that, to be important to somebody else, to offer a word of encouragement and support. You want to see that in action? Go into our Hot Milk Sprint group and watch these ladies love each other. Watch how they loved up Mimi with her graduation news. Watch how they came to the sides of each one of our members who've come and said, I'm having a hard time. Can you pray? I mean, boom, boom, boom. There they were. And you know what? They're not just saying praying for you. They're actually doing it. You know it. You know why you know it? Because you can feel it. And there is you feel the heart connections there. That's all about it. But you know what else? Where we get in real low vibe? It's being super codependent. Like you got to have somebody tell you, oh, you look pretty today. Or you got to have somebody tell you like, no, you're doing great all the time, or that without them, you're nothing. Well, you got to figure that out, because being codependent means that you don't have an identity of your own. You're just looking for everybody else to give it to you. You don't need that. You just need to be important and be a part of somebody else's life. We get to do that. What an opportunity. Number 4 is living your best life that you can possibly do excellently, excellently. Faltering along the way, bumping down, getting up, cha-cha-cha. We have grit, not quit. That's who we are. That's wise women do. They rise up again and again. We have many an Edison moment, but we're still on that path to discovering the way to turn on that light bulb, aren't we? But you know what not living your best life is? It's living a life with lots and lots of regret and just focusing on that spinning wheel of negativity. That's the carousel of crazy right there. And it doesn't do a thing to boost yourself up or anybody else, and you're not contributing to the community, and you're not living your best life. You're just taking up space. And you don't need to. You don't need to. That's not why you've been put here. And you have an opportunity at any point to say, you know what, that's enough of that. Let's get off of that and let's start lifting each other back up. Start serving. Start looking for moments where you can be a support and an encouragement. And guess what? It's all going to come back. It's all going to come back, and you can leave the regret behind, put it in the experience file, and live in the place of the present, right? It's a gift because it is a present. Number 5, hard one, being true to yourself. I believe that being true to yourself is part of your calling. Being true to yourself is having a voice in your life, and it's pursuing your goals, and it's looking for that very specific purpose that God has called you onto this earth for a reason right now anyway. Not doing that, not being true to yourself, is being a people pleaser. And when we're a people pleaser, that is so low vibe, because if you notice, you're completely left behind. If you do an evaluation of what that's all about, you look at it and you say, everybody else is happy, but I've done not a thing for me. You know, they're all happy, but I'm not doing a darn thing for myself. You see the difference on that? I think people pleasing has been one of the toughest things for me to let go of. I grew up a people pleaser. I believed when my parents got divorced, I was 19, by the way, that had I stayed in the home, had I not left for school, had I not, left, that they would have stayed together. And I was 19 years old. I wasn't 4, I had full capacity to figure that out. And I'd say, I know that's ridiculous, but because I did believe it. Because my whole thing was to dance, to people please, and to make everybody else happy. That was my whole reason for being, Half of the men I dated was just to please them and be who they wanted me to be. I was a chameleon. I changed for everyone else. And it wasn't until I was in my 50s that I finally figured out it was okay to be who I was. That's when I became happy. You know why? Because that's who I was. And being everybody else is exhausting. And they're all taken anyway, right? They're all taken anyway. I'm done trying to make everybody happy and fix their stuff and leaving all my stuff behind. Being true to yourself is where it's at. And it's where you find your purpose. You can't do that if you're out there pleasing everybody else. Number 6 is noticing and reveling in what you see. This is experiencing a sunset versus viewing one. This is being in the weeds of the beauty of the complexity of all of the extraordinary things of this world, of what you're experiencing, what you're seeing. Dumping a lot of the garbage, keeping the news turned off, right? The TV turned off for that matter, and going outside. Enjoying the lake first thing in the morning. Can I just tell you how glorious it was first thing? And the frogs and the jumping fish and all of that. Come on. I was just reveling in all of it. Noticing and reveling. That's total high vibe. I came home with a heart filled. As opposed to sitting there and navel gazing and going, oh, woe is me. And this is wrong. And this is bad. And Googling all of your symptoms and just all of that. Super low vibe versus getting out of yourself versus navel gazing. It just finds yourself in that whole place of yuck. And number 7 is seeing what's possible. Instead of saying it's just not going to happen, it's just, whatever. You know what? I am a believer in magical unicorns. They show up continually. I have story after story after story of stuff on my vision board, my house here, things that have happened to me along the way that shouldn't have happened, but I believed in those magical unicorns and they showed up. They show up with all their razzle dazzle, by the way. Versus living and believing and sucking down all those self-limiting beliefs that maybe you were handed as a little kid. But guess what? You're not 4 anymore. You have the ability to process and determine, is this something even I want to listen to? Of course not. Time to dump it. Time to step into what's possible. That's why I always ask you the what if questions. The what if questions in the good, not like, what if, a cyclone comes and blows my house and it'll land on the Wicked Witch of the West, blah, 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 blah. What about, forget that. No. No, not that what if, but what if I could do that thing? What if I decided to do this instead? What if and can you imagine what it would be like if I did? Asking those questions, opening the door to possibility. Remember that quote? Old keys won't open new doors. That's what this is all about, is realizing and accepting and looking for those keys and knowing that door will swing open. It will swing open with the right key. Because if you believe the self-limiting beliefs, if you sit there and simmer in self-limiting beliefs and go with that, you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be playing the same old song and dance. And remember, that's tired, musty, old. Nobody wants to hear it anymore, including you. Aren't you tired of it? I mean, amen. Let's be tired of that stuff. Let's be tired of all the old garbage. It's time to rise up. It's time to walk into the next place of our lives. It's time to find our purpose. You're here on purpose and for purpose. Don't you think it's time to live it? That's how I look at it. Because you know what? This whole thing about high vibing, you know what this is? It's a choice and it's a decision that you're not going to go there anymore. You're done. I'm done. I'm done with pettiness. Oh, but speaking of petty, can I tell you a quick story? So I was out walking. No, not this morning. Yesterday morning. And I saw the lady. Well, the husband and wife, the ones that. And here she is again. Yeah. Well, she was there. Did I tell you this yesterday? I don't remember. She was there, and I just decided, no, I'm not even gonna engage. Just getting there, I started to get stressed out, and I said, I'm just not even. I heard her dogs today. Not even. I don't need to go there. So my decision was, I'm going to stay in my high vibe place. I'm not even going to engage with that. If this is where they want to go, that's their own low vibe decision. And sad, but that's where they live, right? That's where they live. And it doesn't bother me. I can go around the block. Not the block, the lake. I can just turn around and go the other way. I did. So this is how we go from fear to here. This is by making these high vibe decisions along the way and choices. We can pick and choose. This is a big buffet, this life thing, huge buffet, and it's beautiful, full of all kinds of glorious choices that will light your life up. That's up to you to choose them. Up to you. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You know what? Your soul is calling to you. And it's telling you it's time to go from fear to here, because you have a whole life ahead of you. You have a whole bunch of really incredible things to build for yourself. This is your bridge to build. And it's vibrancy all the way, baby. High vibe vibrancy. So how about we do that together? Pinkies up. Thanks for joining me today. Peace be with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.